Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata-sevayā bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Guruve Gauri Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate. Gaurango Dujanayaka Yatinam Dandinam Shaiva Nyasinam Cha Shiromani. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna, dear worshipable devotees, thank you so much for joining and giving your valuable association to read and hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam together, which is the ripe fruit of all the Vedic scriptures. There is nothing better in life to read than Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So we read Canto 9, Chapter 13, entitled The Dynasty of Maharaj Nimi. And last we were reading about Bahulashva, if you remember. When the king of Mithila, Bahulashva, and then Shrutadev, both of them were great devotees of the Supreme Lord, and they welcomed the Lord and they did their best to serve the Lord. And the Lord reciprocated accordingly because he is looking for love and devotion, not how much opulence one has, whether one is externally poor or externally rich. In the eyes of the Lord, that's not the criteria. What is the criteria is the devotion they have. So now let's move on to the next chapter, chapter 14, Canto 9, entitled King Purūravā Enchanted by Urvaśī. The summary of this chapter, chapter 14, is given as follows. This chapter describes Soma and how he kidnapped the wife of Brihaspati and begot in her womb a son named Buddha. Buddha begot Purūravā, who begot 6 sons headed by Ayu in the womb of Urvaśī. Lord Brahma was born from the lotus that sprouted from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Brahma had a son named Atri. And Atri's son was Soma, the king of all drugs and stars. Soma became the conqueror of the entire universe, and being inflated with pride, he kidnapped Tara, who was the wife of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. A great fight ensued between the demigods and the asuras, but Brahma rescued Brihaspati's wife from the clutches of Soma and returned her to her husband, thus stopping the fight. In the womb of Tara, Soma begot a son named Buddha, who later begot in the womb of Ila a son named Aila or Purūravā. Urvaśī was captivated by Purūravā's beauty, and therefore she lived with him for some time. But when she left his company, he became almost like a madman. While traveling all over the world, he met Urvaśī again at Kurukshetra, but she agreed to join with him only for one night in a year. 1 year later, Purūravā saw Urvaśī at Kurukshetra and was glad to be with her for one night. But when he thought of her leaving him again, he was overwhelmed with grief. Urvaśī then advised Purūravā to worship the Gandharvas. Being satisfied with Purūravā, the Gandharvas gave him a woman known as Agnisthali. Purūravā mistook Agnisthali for Urvaśī, but while he was wandering in the forest, his misunderstanding was cleared and he immediately gave up her company. After returning home and meditating upon Urvaśī all night, he wanted to perform a Vedic ritualistic ceremony to satisfy his desire. Thereafter, he went to the same place where he had left Agnisthali, and there he saw that from the womb of Sami tree had come an Ashwatha tree. Purūravā made 2 sticks from this tree and thus produced a fire. By such a fire, one can satisfy all lusty desires. The fire was considered son of Purūravā. In Satya Yoga, there was only one social division called Hamsa. There were no divisions of Varna like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. The Veda was the Omkar. The various demigods were not worshipped, but only the Supreme Personality of Godhead was the worshipable deity. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So we'll not go in details here because we'll be going details when we're reading the verses. So let's begin reading this wonderful chapter about King Purūravā and how he was enchanted by Urvaśī. So would someone like to read the first verse?
I can read, Prabhu. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Dandavat pranam to everyone. Text number 1. Śrī Shuka Uvacha Atha Śrūyatam Rajan Vansha Somasya Pavanaha Yasmin Ela Adaya Bhupa Kirtante Punya Kirtayaha. Translation by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Sukadeva Goswami said to Maharaja Parikshit, O king, thus far you have heard the description of the dynasty of the sun god. Now hear the most glorious and purifying description of dynasty of the moon god. This description mentions kings like Aila Purūravā, of whom it is glorious to hear. So it's very straightforward here. Until now, we have seen the Sun dynasty. We have a great personality like Lord Ramchandra, Amrish Maharaja, and I guess Mandata. And now Sukadeva Goswami is further introducing and explaining the glorifying the personality of the Moon dynasty from here, I guess. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So let's hear about the glorious Moon dynasty. Text 2. Anyone? Students? Yes.
Sahasrashirasah punso nabi hridayas saro ruhat jatasyasit suto dhatu ratrihi pitru sabo gunehi. Lord Vishnu is also known as Sahasra Srirsa Purusha. From the lake of his navel sprang a lotus on which Lord Brahma was generated. Atri, the son of Lord Brahma, was as qualified as his father.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you, Prabhu. So the word used to describe Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is Sahasra Shirsha. Shirsha means head, right? Shri Ramachandra Charana Shirasa Namami, right? Or Shirshasana also. So basically, head. Sahasra means thousands. So one who has thousands of head. Who has that? Basically, Lord Vishnu. Nabhi Hrit Saroruha. It's like a sarovar, it's like a pond or from the lake, the analogy is given from the lake of the navel of Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who appeared Lord Brahma, and whose son, Brahma's son, was Atri. Atri also means free from three. Three. Three means three modes. One who is free from the three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. So let's see what happened when Atri was born, and he was very qualified. Yes, Sudhir Prabhu, you want to read?
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa, devotees, Dandavat Pranam, all praise to Śrīla Prabhupada. Text number 3. Tasya dragho abhavat putra soma amritam ya kila vipraushadya udhu gananam brahmana kalpite pati. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace E.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. From Atri's 3 years of jubilation was born a son named Soma, the moon, who was full of soothing grace. Lord Brahma appointed him the director of the Brahmanas, drugs and luminaries. Purport. According to the Vedic description, Soma, the moon god, was born from the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chandrama Manaso Jata. But here we find that Soma was born from the tears in the eyes of Atri. This appears contradictory to the Vedic information, but actually it is not. For this birth of the moon is understood to have taken place in another millennium. When tears appears in the eyes because of jubilation, the tears are soothing. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura says, Drigbhya anandasyabhya ata evam ratamya. Here, the word Drigbhya means from tears of jubilation. Therefore, the moon god is called Amritaya, full of soothing rays. In 4th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 4th canto, 1st chapter, 15th verse, we find this verse. Atre patne anusuya trin jajne shuyasha sudan dattam dravas sasam somam atmase brahma sambhavan. This verse describes that Anusuya, the wife of Atri Rishi, bore 3 sons, Soma, Durvasa, Dattatreya. It is said that at the time of conception, Anusuya was impregnated by the tears of Atri. Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam. So here we can see how wonderful Soma was born, who is none other than moon god. And the Lord Brahma appointed him the director of the Brahmanas, drugs, and the luminaries. So we can see that in another millennium, moon god was born from a Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna himself. But since these are different yugas, different maybe in different millennium, different kalpas, so it is little different. And we can see that the tears appear from the eyes are in jubilation because of the love he had, and the tears are when we soothing here in this case. So and that's why it also Prabhupada explains that how Anusuya, the wife of Atri Muni, bore 3 sons, Soma, Durvasa, and Dattatreya, and they were impregnated by the tears of Atri. It's not like mundane, impregnation. Here we can see that the great rishis were able to, even impregnate with the tears. It's not the mundane. That's what I understand. Please correct me. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ru. Very nice points. Atri and Anasuya, Lord Ramchandra also met them when he was going through the forest. And there's wonderful exchanges and conversations between Mata Anasuya and Sita Mata and Sage Atri and Lord Ram. So Atri is a nice story in this regard that Anasuya Devi's name comes in one of the most chaste ladies like Draupadi, Gandhari, etc. Tara. So Anasuya is also one of those two. Therefore, she gave advice to even Mata Sita as her teacher. So this news of chastity of Anasuya actually spread far and wide, even in the upper planets. And the wives of Lord Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Well, how can this? It's kind of a transcendental envy. She cannot be more chaste than us. Then they send their husbands go test her out and make sure she fails in the test. So now it's a tricky situation. So the three lords came dressed as brahmanas. They said, you have to give us charity, but you have to give us charity without any clothes. So that was a very difficult test. Now, to not give charity or to dakshina or bakshish to a brahmana is sinful, but to without any clothes is to lose one's chastity. So she was in the dharma sankat. What to do? But she was so chaste that she said that, okay, I'll give charity. But if I am truly a chaste lady, then all of you become infants. So they all became infants, so they became babies. And their wives were now looking, where are our husbands? And then say, oh, they're crying, infants cry, right? So and then they said, please give our husbands back. But said, okay, we want the give the infant the husbands back, but we want their amsha. So Prabhupada also mentions this in one of the other purports, that from Brahma comes the Soma, the amsha. From Shiva comes the Urvaśī, right? And from Lord Vishnu comes the Dattatreya. Soma, Urvaśī, and the Dattatreya, as we are reading here, they're basically the partial manifestations or incarnations of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. And we have heard multiple times Urvaśī Muni being the amsha of Shiva, easily gets pleased, easily gets angry. And the Dattatreya is, we have heard of the Dattatreya also, that he is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And there's also a very nice statement which Bhagavatam Prabhu, when he came to our college, said, Atri means free from three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. Anusuyava is freedom from envy. So when one is free from the three modes, and when one is free from envy, then the Lord will come in their heart. Very nice explanation. So we should try to become Atri and Anasuya, free from the three modes, and transcend the three modes, and free from envy, then the Lord will come in the heart of such a person. So let's read further. And yeah, this is the previous yugas. As we read earlier in the purport, there was only one class, Hamsa, and this is beyond our conception, beyond modern science conception, because we are in a very relative, degraded world. The great sages, even like the birth of Vyasadeva, Satyavati and Parashara, it was not like mundane, the modern day so-called understanding of male and female uniting just by the tears. There are some animals also who unite in this way, or kind of they expand their species in this way. So it may be incomprehensible to us, but because of our Dr. Frog mentality, right? Okay, let's read text 4. Anyone wants to? Yes, you want to read?
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Text 4. Sha ajat rajasyo ena vijito bhuvano trayam patnim brihaspatir darpat taram nama harad balat. Translation by His Divine Grace is the Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. After conquering the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, Soma, the moon god, performed a great sacrifice known as Rashyo Yagna. Because he was very much puffed up, he forcibly kidnapped Brihaspati's wife, whose name was Tara. Back to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, it's a great lesson here. Of course, we're not judging these personalities, but the point is that when one is puffed up, when one is too much obsessed in one's own self, one will do wrong things. Very simple. Because humility will be lost. One will not be able to hear good words. Ravana, same situation, right? Too much puffed up in one's own self. Any person who is too much puffed up in yourself, they will commit wrong things sooner or later. Because they can't hear good of others. Duryodhana, same situation. Anytime we see in the history, anytime a person is puffed up, pride, puja, la, pratishta, profit, fame, adoration, I am right, what I am saying is right, you have to do what I am saying is right, or not humble enough to hear others' good counsel, like Ravana didn't hear anyone's good counsel, too much puffed up. Very aptly they say, pride comes before the fall, right? Pride comes before the fall. So he, although being the son of Brahma, the son of Atri, just think about, we just read that Brahma and Atri were very, very qualified, right? We just read Atri, the son of Brahma, was a very qualified, as good as his father. And Lord Brahma, we know, he is made up of only pure intelligence. He's not like an ordinary human being. He is not made up of, out of the 8 elements, his body is like pure, practically goodness. On the topmost planet in the material world. So much responsibility, such a nice devotee. Amongst the 12 Mahajans. But still, look at his grandson, right? Kidnapped Brihaspati's wife, who is Brihaspati is the guru of the demigods, right? So let's see what happens further. Next 5. Yes, Vaswati, Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna, Pranam everyone. Text 5. Yada sa deva guruna yachito vikshnasho madat natadya त्यजत तत्कृते yagne sura danava vigraha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Although requested again and again by Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, Soma did not return Tara. This was due to his false pride. Consequently, a fight ensued between the demigods and the demons. Back to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Matrivat paradareshu. One should think another's wife as a mother. Matrivat paradareshu. This is famous shloka of Prabhupada multiple times from Chanakya Pandit's. But here we see that Duryodhana and the Pandavas fighting over the woman. Ravana lost everything out of lust. So many people. Great battles have been fought over lust. And even in today's day and age, actually, people fighting over opposite sex, even to the extent of killing each other. This is not just bygone ages. Mahabharata, Ramayana. This is happening every day practically. People trying to kill, or people causing some indirect harm, throwing acids and whatnot. This is happening in today's society as well. The power of lust is so strong that one loses dhyayato vishayan punsa sangasteshu pujayate sangat sanjayate kama krodad vijayate krodad bhavati sammoha smriti vibrama smriti bhramsad buddhinasha pranashyati. The whole path, one after the other, one continues to fall down. Why? Contemplation on sense objects. Lust, anger, greed, envy, loss of intelligence. One does not know what's right, what's wrong. And one just falls into the material pool. So a big fight started. Why? Because of lust. Because of pride. So let's see what happens for this. Akshay, Prabhu, please.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Shukro Brahaspate Dveshad Agrahit Shasurodupam Aroguru Sutam Snehat Sarva Bhuta Ganarvrata. Translation. Because of enmity between Brihaspati and Shukra, Shukra took the side of the moon god and was joined by the demons. But Lord Shiva, because of affection for the son of his spiritual master, joined the side of Brihaspati and was accompanied by all the ghosts and hobgoblins. Purport: the moon god is one of the demigods, but to fight against the other demigods, he took the assistance of demons. Shukra, being an enemy of Brihaspati, also joined the moon god to retaliate in wrath against Brihaspati. To counteract this situation, Lord Shiva, who was affectionate toward Brihaspati, joined Brihaspati. The father of Brihaspati was Angira, from whom Lord Shiva has received knowledge. Therefore, Lord Shiva had some affection for Brihaspati and joined his side in this fight. Sridhara Swami remarks, Angirasa Sakashat Tat Prapta Vidyo Araiti Prasiddha. Lord Shiva is well known to have received knowledge from Angira. So here, even though moon god is is a demigod, but he took a support from demons and along with Shukracharya, and the Brihaspati supported by Lord Shiva. As per the purport, Lord Shiva has gained knowledge from Angira, who is Brihaspati's father. That is why Shiva is supporting Brihaspati. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. It's interesting that sometimes pride, lust, greed may overpower someone to the extent that he is willing to fight with his own brothers, right? Like generally demigods we put in one pool, right? Demigods. There's always fight between demigods and demons. But now here Prabhupada is mentioning that moon god is actually one of the demigods, right? So practically he's fighting with his own brothers. And he is taking support from the enemies to destroy his own brothers, right? That's the power of lust, and to the extent it can destroy us. Fighting with Lord Shiva, fighting with Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. Will the father Atri be happy? Will Brahma be happy to see all his children, brothers, grandson fighting each other? But Vinash Kale Viparit Buddhi, the time of destruction, then good counsel does not work. Therefore, good association is always important, and good counsel is always important. So let's see the next verse, text 7. Anyone who has not yet read, wants to read? Ms. Kashish Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam, all devotees, all Gauris to Srila Prabhupada. Text number 7. Sarvadeva Ganopeto Mahendro Gurum Anvayat Surasur Vinasho Abhuta Samarastara Kamayaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Indra, accompanied by all kinds of demigods, joined the side of Brihaspati. Thus, there was a great fight, destroying both demons and demigods, only for the sake of Tara, Brihaspati's wife. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada is mentioning here simply for the sake of a woman. Yeah, simply because Tara, a woman, the wife. Basically, the whole fight, big teams were made. Brothers fighting. Why? For a woman. There's a nice story of liquid beauty, which is quite relevant in this regard. And for a male, female, for a female, male, that's the the allurement of opposite sex. There's a nice story, very instructive in this regard, that someone may be attracted. Everyone is attracted to opposite sex, especially when the outside body looks very appealing. There was a great king who was attracted to a beautiful girl, young, handsome, pretty girl. And the king was very attracted. I want to marry you. I want to be with you. I want to, But the girl was a self-realized soul. And she could understand that. She's just attracted to the externals. And she said, okay, you want to be with me, you want to marry me, it's fine. But can you marry after 1 month? Okay. The king said, okay, 1 month. Time flies fast. 1 month is not a big time. I'll come after 1 month. In that 1 month's time, the girl took a lot of laxatives, purgatives, etc. And she was vomiting and diarrhea and whatnot. And she was collecting the stool and the urine and the vomit and everything in different pots. So her body started to grow very weak, pale. All the luster and the glow from her body was going. And she looked very fragile. And the king came after 1 month, knocked the door. Oh, where is that beautiful girl whom I wanted to marry? And the girl said, can you call the lady who opened the door, the king said, can you call your mistress or master? No. Malkin ko bulao. They said, who we're talking about? Said, I'm talking about the lady whom I wanted to marry. I came 1 month back, the beautiful girl I wanted to marry. I have come. She asked me to come after a month. Now I'm here. She said that, well, I'm the same lady. I said, no, impossible. I said, okay, you want to marry that lady. So you want to see where the beauty has gone. So she showed the pots full of pus and stool and mucus and vomit. This is beauty. The story is entitled The Liquid Beauty. This is what you were attracted to. I'm the same person, just the externals have changed a little bit. The self has not changed, right? The famous shlok, Vansansi jirnani yatha vihaya, or Dehinosmin yatha dehi kaumaram yovanam jara. The soul moves from boyhood to youth to adulthood and then death. But the Atma does not change. So the lady gave a nice lesson. The king became self-realized. Actually, I was just attracted to the externals. And His Grace Amamlila Prabhu once said this point. One may be attracted to the externals, but just think about just 1 millimeter of skin, okay? If someone scrapes off 1 millimeter of skin from the surface, what it appears right now, will we be attracted to that person? Right? So basically 1 millimeter. So how deep is the beauty? Therefore it's called skin deep, right? Therefore the relationships also in this day and age, what's the first thing they look for? How does that person look like, right? Boy looks for a good girl, good girl looks for a good boy, and good means externals. How much he earns or she earns, how do they look? The 2 main parameters, correct? You all agree with this? Qualities, morale, honesty, value system, everything secondary. How they look and how much they earn, right? And therefore, and these 2 things are very feeble. And therefore the marriages are very feeble, right? Love at first sight, divorce at first fight. So therefore marriages don't sustain because they are skin deep. And the skin will not be good after some time. The skin, no matter, someone could be a Miss World, but after a few years, wrinkles will come, right? The body may be something, the income may be something, but time will change, but the qualities will sustain. Therefore, the marriage should be based on qualities, not on, of course, we are not saying that other things may be important, but they're secondary. That should not be, but in this day, it's the primary thing everyone looks for is skin deep beauty and material wealth. Both the things, therefore, it leads to failure in most situations. So the point here is that only for the sake of women. It's not the point of, it's not to blame the woman, it's to blame the lusty propensity, right? It's to blame we're not blaming any individual or any male or female. Hate the sin, not the sinner. That's the point here. Lust is Kam Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudra Mahashano Mahapapma Videna Iha Verina. This is Mahashana. This is the great enemy. Trividham Narakasya Dvam Dwaram Nashnam Atmana Kama Krodhas Tatha Lobhas Tasmadetam Triyantajit. Bhagavad Gita tells about Kam, Krodh, Lobh multiple times. So many, at least 10 verses or more are there in Bhagavad Gita which talk about these three main gateway of hell: lust, anger, and greed. So one should be very, very cognizant, aware, and careful. Because I'm also talking big things, but I'm praying. Prabhupada said that we should be sufficiently careful of Maya. Prabhupada saying this. So my disciples are sometimes, they think they're too advanced. Oh, they're chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa. Maya will not attack them. Oh, we can overcome lust. We can overcome greed. We can overcome envy. No, we should never be in that comfort zone. Savdhani hati, durgatna ghati. A moment of inattention can lead to a disaster. Right? So we should be very careful, especially dealing with the opposite sex, and we should constantly check our intentions, and we should be always on guard. Otherwise, familiarity breeds contempt, and it may lead to disaster. So let's read the next verse, text number 8. Anyone who has not read wants to read this verse?
Yeah, I can read.
Yes, please, Prabhu.
Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees. Text 8. Nivadito tangirasa somam nirbhatsya vishvakrat taram swabhatre prayachad antarvatnim avet patihi. Translation by Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. When Lord Brahma was fully informed by Angira about the entire incident, he severely chastised the moon god Soma. Thus, Lord Brahma delivered Tara to her husband, who could then understand that she was pregnant. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Back to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you, Prabhu. It's quite straightforward. The father of moon god told his father all this mess going on, and Lord Brahma had to intervene. He chastised. So let's see, text 9. What happens further? Andari Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Jai Srila Prabhupada. त्यजाशु दुष्प्रज्ञे मत्क्षेत्रा दाहितं परे नाहं त्वां भस्मसात् कुर्यां श्रियं शान्ता निकेसति. Translation by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhu, can you please scroll down? And purport 2. Brihaspati said, "You foolish woman, your womb, which was meant for me to impregnate, has been impregnated by someone other than me. Immediately deliver your child. Immediately deliver it. Be assured that after the child is delivered, I shall not burn you to ashes. I know that although you are unchaste, you wanted a son. Therefore, I shall not punish you." Purport. Tara was married to Brihaspati, and therefore, as a chaste woman, she should have been impregnated by him. But instead, she preferred to be impregnated by Soma, the moon god, and therefore she was unchaste. Although Brihaspati accepted Tara from Brahma, when he saw that she was pregnant, he wanted her to deliver a son immediately. Tara certainly very much feared her husband, and she thought she might be punished after giving birth. Thus, Brihaspati assured her that he would not punish her For although she was unchaste and had become pregnant illicitly, he wanted a son. So we see human complex emotion like we material world people have, and it's possible to make mistakes even when you are demigod. Demigod are supposed to be elevated devotees of Lord. They get association of Lord from time to time. They get to see Lord. They are in association of other demigods who tend to be devotees of the Lord. And even then, such mishaps can happen. Here, Brihaspati is still accepting his wife, and he's actually merciful towards his wife. And the wife wanted a son. So sometimes, these desires we have, they're very hard to overcome. Prabhupada says that we have so many desires, as many waves are on the ocean, that many desires we have. So this is one of the desires, and it's possible because women always want to be mother, and it's possible to have such a desire to have a son, and she was not having a son. So this is how material life is. Back to you, Prabhu, please add. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, you can read text 10. Anyone who has not yet read wants to read? Left out so far today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I can read.
Please, Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam, text 10. Tatyaja vridita tara kumaram kanak prabham spruha madam giraschakre kumare soma evacha. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Shukdev Goswami continued. By Brihaspati's order, Tara, who was very much ashamed, immediately gave birth to the child. She was very beautiful, who was very beautiful, with a golden bodily hue. Both Brihaspati and the moon god Soma desired the beautiful child. Back to you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Quite straightforward. Let's read the next verse. Now both want the same child, born from the womb of Tara. Let's see what happens. Text 11. Maya. Yeah, Prabhu, please.
Oh, no, go ahead, Prabhuji. Sorry.
Mamayam na tvayet uccayistasmin vivadam manayoho paprachorashayo deva naivoche viditatu sa. Fighting again broke out between Brihaspati and the moon god, both of whom claimed, "This is my child, not yours." All the saints and the demigods present asked Tara whose child the newborn baby actually was, but she was ashamed. She could not immediately answer. Very straightforward. Yes, Prabhu, please read.
Kumaro mataram praha kupito likajaya kimna vachasya vrute atmavadam vadashume. The child then became very angry and demanded that this mother immediately tell the truth. "You unchaste woman," he said, "what is the use of your unnecessary shame? Why do you not admit your fault? Immediately tell me about your faulty behavior. Back to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So it looks like the child also is not an ordinary child, because the child is now talking to the mother who is just born. The child is just born. And the mother is actually in a dharma sankat, right? So it was not out of her choice that she went to Soma, right? She was kidnapped by Soma. And so it was a very kind of tough situation for her. So you can imagine that her situation also is not easy. Okay. Text 13. Anyone? There are no purports, so we'll keep going.
I can read Prabhuji. Sticks at 13. Brahma tam raho ahu o samprakshichi cha shanta bhayan samasheto aho sonokoi somastamo tabhat agrohit. Translation by His Divine Grace is Bhakti Srila Prabhupada Joy. Lord Brahma then brought Tara to a secluded place, and after pacifying her, he asked to whom the child actually belonged. She replied very slowly, "This is the son of Soma, the moon god." Then the moon god immediately took charge of the child. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. We see the Lord Brahma is showing such gentle, caring behavior here, right? Because this woman here, Tara, is like a granddaughter to her, right? Or a daughter, granddaughter, much. So being an expert, guru, father, grandfather, very nice thing actually he did, where we can take lesson. Brought to a secluded place. Whenever difficult things are discussed, they should not be done in front of 50 people, right? How will the person open up? Correct. Whenever things are difficult, the environment is so surcharged with emotion, it should not be, whether talking to children, whether talking any even difficult conversation, or any confidential matters are not discussed with 50 people. This is a very personal matter. Just think about, right? If we put ourselves in her shoes, it's a very personal matter. How can she tell in front of 50 people? There's a big fight going on and she is being pressed. Okay, tell whose son is this? This is Soma's son, or she is already so ashamed. It was not out of her choice. Lord Brahma, look at the maturity. Look at the fatherly figure he is playing here. It's a great lesson actually, is to give that comfort, to open up. Very, very important for healthy relationships. When I talk about relationship, it's all kinds of relationship, whether brother, sister, mother, father, daughter, son, husband, wife, to give that comfortable environment for the person to open up. Bhagavatam teaches so many nice lessons. And when Lord Brahma gently asked, after pacifying her, also very important. If we look at the words carefully, Lord Brahma pacified her. Mistake is a mistake, right? Whether knowingly, unknowingly, what can be done? Past is past. We have to overcome that. Lord Brahma pacified her, gave her the comfort, right? And so right place, right situation, and then asked to help out, to sort out all this confusion. So I think we can take good lessons from Lord Brahma in any relationships here, that anytime we may be in such situation or we see someone else in such situation, how we should deal. I'm not talking about the exact same situation. Anytime the environment is tense, the emotions are up. It could be a loss of a dear one. It could be something, something emotional. This is a very emotional situation. When someone is hurt emotionally, it could be someone losing their job, someone losing their friend, losing their family member. It could be something. There could be so many reversals one could go through, and we all go through in some way or form. But to pacify, even if someone has to say something as a constructive feedback, it should not be in front of 50 people. It will not have any good impact. That's what the Shastras say. So this happened. It's a nice lesson here in text number 13. Any other comments, additions, questions anyone has before we pause for today? Let's read one more verse, and the topic actually changes from 15. So let's pause it after reading 14. Anyone wants to read the last verse for today? Text 14.
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read.
Please.
Hare Krishna. Tasya atmayo nirakruta buddha itya vidyam nrupa buddha gabhiraya ena putrena pongura mudam. Translation. O Maharaj Parikshit, when Lord Brahma saw that the child was deeply intelligent, he gave the child the name Buddha. The moon god, the ruler of the stars, enjoyed great jubilation because of this son. Hare Krishna. Back to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So his name was Buddha. Why? Because he was very intelligent, Buddha. And moon god was happy because Buddha was his son. Okay, so we'll pause here and continue tomorrow with the next verse. Prantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Puran ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.